Well, hello everyone, and welcome to the Benjamin Z. Miller Investor Networking Group. It is so nice to see everyone here today. We've got investors from around the world. We meet every week. If you're seeing this on the internet and you are interested in meeting more investors, maybe you're a business person and you want to meet more investors, you can start coming to our meetings. Just send an email to me, ben@benjaminzmiller.com, and I can get you an invitation. Each meeting, we talk about a different topic, and tonight's topic is short sale investing. So I'll go ahead and get started on that. And I'll talk about how if you're not currently using this in your investing, you may be leaving a lot of money on the table. I've done short sales for many, many years, and it is a great way to get some assets at a discount. So let's talk about what is a short sale. People, when they hear this, they often think of the stock market. I'm not talking about short selling stocks. That's not what this presentation is about. This is about you find someone that has a bank loan and they have stopped making payments on their bank loan. Maybe the loan was to buy a house. Maybe the loan was to buy a car. Maybe the loan was to buy a business. Maybe the loan was for real estate. Whatever the loan is for, they have some sort of a bank loan and they stop making payments. And the bank is angry now and they are saying, give us the asset back, or we're going to foreclose, or we're going to take it through legal action. So here's an example of how this might work. Let's say there's a piece of real estate that has a value of $200,000. And let's imagine that since the owner of that real estate, he financed it when he bought it, he stopped making payments maybe a few months ago, and there's all sorts of fees and penalties that have been added on. Maybe he hasn't made a payment in a year, for example. So the bank debt that's owed on it is maybe $250,000 at this point. So if you find someone like this and you can get them to agree to sell the asset to you for $80,000, you could have them sign a contract for $80,000. And then and it's a big if the bank would say, okay, we would rather just get the $80,000 in cash instead of losing more time trying to collect the other money that we are owed, we will just accept that. You would capture $120,000 in equity based on the value of the asset, what you're paying for it. So that's how a short sale works. So why would a bank accept a short sale? This is brought about for a lot of reasons, but essentially what happens is banks, when they make loans, if they get too many bad loans where the people are not paying, it creates all sorts of problems for the bank. And if this goes on too long, they can get more people that are regulators stopping by saying, hey, we don't think you're running your bank very well. And bankers, they hate that. Bankers absolutely hate that. They don't want some regulator stopping by and trying to take control of their bank. So they will do everything they can to get rid of these bad loans because it interferes with their ability to generate new loans, and it is a situation where they are losing out. So that is what is the motivation on it in terms of what is happening there. That's why a short sale happens. Here's an interesting graphic. This is from the St. Louis Fed in the United States. And we are looking at an interesting number here that's over the decades. If we're going back to 1986, we can see that there was, we're looking at total non-performing loans for commercial banks in the United States. And you can see there was a financial crisis back in 2008. You can see here how much it increased and then it went down. But if we look at this and to try to get an idea of just, for example, the country, the United States, but in every country, there's non-performing loans as long as you're in a country that has interest. If we imagine that the average loan is 100,000, and in this example in the U.S., I checked the numbers, there's about 154 billion in non-performing loans. And if the average loan size, we're just going to take it at 100,000, some are more, some are less. That would suggest there's 1.5 million loans in the United States that are in default, that are not being paid on time, where if you could locate one of those people out of 1.5 million that have a loan like this, you could potentially negotiate a deal where you could buy the asset for less than what it's worth. So Why would a bank accept the short sale? It's all driven by the fact that they don't want to get too many non-performing loans on the balance sheet. The more that the balance sheet becomes polluted with bad debt, the more dangerous it is for the bank, because eventually if they get too many bad loans on their books, they're going to have a regulator that is going to want to stop by more often. They're going to have a regulator from the government that's going to want to get involved with the bank and help them. And that's not what the bank wants. The bank doesn't want to be told what to do. The bankers hate that. So they love to get rid of these loans before they stay on the books too long. And that's a large part of the reason why they're willing to accept less than the amount that they're owed. Because if they attract too many if they build up too high a percentage of non-performing loans, it can damage their reputation as a bank. It can damage their credit rating as a bank. And it causes a lot of problems for a bank. So they're not just thinking about that one loan. They're thinking about their overall loan portfolio. That is what drives all of this. So now the question that you may have is, why in the world would a seller sell their asset? Maybe their piece of real estate, maybe their boat, maybe their business. Why in the world would a seller agree to take less than the debt owed? Because aren't they going to be responsible for paying that back to the bank? Well, the nice thing about a short sale is it's kind of a default thing where they do not pursue, in most cases, what's called a deficiency judgment, where usually the bank will allow the short sale to proceed without going after the borrower for the little bit of money that he still owes. And in some cases, big amount of money they still owed, because that's just the standard way that it's done. So at any rate, the seller's in a situation where the seller's going to lose the asset. He's not going to have the house. He's not going to have the boat. So he knows he's going to lose it. So in that situation, because he can't make the payments because he's run out of cash, he becomes desperate for a solution, because he's no longer happy with the bank. He's no longer friends with the bank. He's angry at the bank because he asked the bank to wait more time for the money. And the bank said no, they wouldn't wait anymore. They said they already gave him one loan modification or two loan modifications. So now he's angry. He doesn't want the bank to do well in most cases. And he wants to just find a better situation. So this changes the seller, where the seller, once he reaches that point, all of a sudden he doesn't care. He doesn't care because he knows he's not getting any money out of it. If the debt is $250,000, and if you offer $249,000, he's not even going to get $1,000. If the debt is $250,000 and you offer $100,000 or $80,000, he's not going to see any of that money either, because it's all going to the debt. So this changes the way that the seller thinks. The seller is more willing to take something like, well, if you'll pay me $1,000 or $2,000 cash now, because I need cash now, they're willing, for example, to maybe agree to sell the asset to you. Maybe if you explain to them that they can keep living there while you're working the deal until the sale proceeds. All of these things come into play, but that's what's going on with the seller. So now the paperwork, each bank has its own set of paperwork. And I'm going to show here, for example, if you were to do paperwork for a bank in America, Bank of America, what that paperwork would look like. So I'm just going to play this.
This is an actual document that's from Bank of America, and it's the document that you fill out when you start a short sale. So you would get this document from Bank of America. You could find it on the internet. And when you've got somebody that has a loan with Bank of America, you would go and fill out a document like this. So you were going to basically fill in, who's the name of the borrower, this information. This part, the authorization to release information, you would fill that in. If you're going to normally have a real estate agent that helps you with it, so put in the name of the real estate agent that's going to be a real estate agent you found for the borrower. Then you've got some other information here. You're going to fill in the borrower's information. Let's say Joe Smith. Fill all his information in. You're going to select that yes, it is listed for sale. Have you received an offer? Yes. Date of the offer amount. This is where you put in your $25,000. Then you're gonna put the agent's phone number, this sort of information. Once you get this all filled out, they're gonna have a series of questions. You're gonna have to help the borrower or the real estate agent that you pick out that has training in short sales will have to do this with the borrower, because
So that's basically how the documents look for that particular bank in America, but each bank has their own documents, and you just would type in the bank name and you would say short sale packet. That's usually what you search for.
this is,
So you do often have to help the seller with writing a hardship letter. This is where, in a respectful tone to the bank, with no anger at the bank, the seller's gonna express how they've had a difficult financial situation. They had a medical problem, they had a divorce, they had some problem, an injury, whatever it might be, that made it where they could not make the payments, and they feel badly about it, and they just want to work this out, and they hope that the bank will accept your short sale. So that's basically how that letter goes. But it's a good idea if you draft it with the seller, because a lot of times the seller may not be in a good mood and may not want to write the letter, or may procrastinate on writing the letter. Whereas if you just offer to draft the letter based on your conversation with the seller, you can put it together more quickly. So where do you get the money to buy the asset? That's sometimes a question that people ask. A really great resource, because a short sale, it's not like some real estate deals where you can do it with, for example, as easily if you don't have cash. You really need cash with short sales. Now, the key thing is it doesn't necessarily have to be your cash, but whatever you put on the contract to purchase the asset, the entity that is purchasing the asset, you want to make sure that that entity has a bank statement showing that amount of money that matches your offer. Because if you submit it to most banks and you don't include that, the bank can kick it back, because especially if it's a big bank, the big banks, they have very developed checklists. They may have 20 things they want. A hardship letter, number one. They may want bank statements from the seller. They may want all sorts of documents. But this is a way. If you go to Scotsman's Guide, you can actually get a lot of lenders, and I encourage you to check out Scotsman Guide. You can find a lot of different lenders there. So the key points that I would stress when you do short sales are, you need to make sure that you take control of the situation, because as soon as you give up control, your short sale will quickly fail. So you've got to look at it as you have to do everything to help the seller. And that means if you start depending on the seller to do things, that's where your deal is going to fail. So if the seller needs a hardship letter, you need to offer to draft it for the seller. If the bank needs something, you need to try to help in every way, shape, and form. That's just the importance of it. If there's a real estate agent involved in the transaction, you should ideally make an introduction to a real estate agent that you know is experienced, that can represent the seller, but that is also a real estate agent that has experience with short sales, someone that you have a relationship with, and then you introduce them to the seller so that they can list the property. You have to manage the expectations. You need to right up front tell the seller they're not going to get any money out of the deal, but you can pay them this amount of cash at this stage, certain amount here, certain amount here. And then, because you're taking a risk also, the bank may say no. And if the bank says no, you're going to lose that money if you've given the seller any money in advance of the short sale. But sometimes you have to do something to get them to think it's good. You don't always have to. You can walk away from it, but these are the situations you sometimes find yourself in. You need to be very organized to do short sales. This is not the area where, if you're not good with filing cabinets and Dropbox folders and documents, you're not going to like short sales, because there's a lot of paperwork. And even if one document in the set's not correct, a big bank will just kick it back and say no. They don't care if it starts the whole process over, because they're a big bank. Eventually, if you attempt several of these, you will get one approved. You may have to try 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, maybe 10, but if you keep trying, you're gonna eventually get one across the finish line. And when you get it across the finish line, you'll have a very good payday. If you need to, you can also reach out to specialist companies that will outsource the paperwork for you. There's a lot of these companies that are out there. And say that you are in a situation where you have managed to locate some motivated sellers, maybe they are behind on payments, and you recognize that this could be an opportunity for a short sale. But you're looking at this situation and you don't actually want to yourself deal with all of the paperwork. You can hire a company where basically what you can do is you can take your seller that is the motivated seller, and then you can say something like, we should try a short sale. If the seller agrees with that, then you could contact a company like, for example, Oyez Real Estate, although it could be any company. I simply use them as an example, but they are in Texas and they're a company that they specialize in short sales. So if you were doing a deal in Texas and let's say you had a seller that maybe had a bank loan with Wells Fargo or Ocwen, and you wanted to do a short sale on it, but you did not want to do all of the work yourself of filling out all those forms to get through all of that, you could talk to a company like Oyez Real Estate, explain that you're an investor, that you have leads for short sales, and that when you find a motivated seller, you'll direct the motivated seller to them. They can do the paperwork with the seller to properly list the property. And then you just let them know that you want to put an offer in on the property once it becomes available. You actually would have an offer already with the seller pretty much worked out. But that's an opportunity there if you're the type of person that's good at generating leads, but you're not good at paperwork and keeping track of all of this. You can work with another company that will actually take care of all of that for you. So that's how that works. And that is something that you can use in the future. You can, whatever country or state you're in, you can look for specialists in short sales. This just happens to be Texas. But if it's in California, you might find a company in California. But there are specialists like this that you can work with, where you can benefit from their experience and where you can have them take care of everything for you so that you can just focus on being an investor and not having to actually do all of the headache work of gathering the seller's bank statements, tax returns, all of this, and just be able to basically outsource that. So there's opportunities there where you can make your life easier by basically short selling. And the other thing is you can absolutely do this not only with real estate. Some people have heard about real estate and they're familiar with that, but you can do the same thing on boats or yachts, whatever you've got. National liquidators, they specialize in boat and yacht short sales, where basically what they do, it's kind of an interesting company, is if somebody is in a situation where a bank where they're not paying on their loan, this company will actually try to collect, and they are set up to market boats, yachts, commercial vessels. And what they do here is it says that they do an auction every Monday at 4, and they get the result of the auction, and then they send it to the lien holder, the bank, or the owner if the asset's still in the owner's name, and then they get an answer of approve, counter, or denial. So it's kind of an interesting. So that's a company that does that, but you can also do it directly with the boat or yacht owner, where you get their information. Okay, so that is it for our presentation. Just a couple of reminders. The first reminder is if you haven't been to the group before, which actually tonight everybody has been to the group before, so we have all of your information. But we have a sign-in sheet there in the chat window. You should see it and you can update anything. And then if you have any friends or colleagues that you think would benefit, or they'd like to meet more investors from around the world, we have investors from the United States, from Canada, we have investors from Europe, from all over. Just feel free to join the group, and we will get you an invitation. We also have a new Discord server where you can network and talk to people about deals. So very good on that. And then if you're watching this on the internet and you're thinking to yourself, wow, that's great, I didn't know you could do that. I sure would like to learn more about that. If you need help, don't hesitate to reach out to me. I do offer a mentoring program. You can email me, ben@benjaminzmiller.com. That's ben@benjaminzmiller.com, and we can talk about everything. So that is it for our presentation. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording, and then I'll open it up for any questions or thoughts or comments at this point.